Hey everybody, it's Ricardo Gorski, the founder of Tax.One, where we help individuals and businesses relocate to low tax jurisdictions. And in this video, I'm going to give you the big picture about Cyprus. I'm going to talk about everything regarding lifestyle, business, taxes, real estate. This is literally going to be the ultimate beginner's guide for everyone that is interested in relocating to Cyprus or investing into Cyprus. And for that, I have my beautiful iPad here with a few notes, and we are going to start with my backstory. First of all, I'm going to talk about why I live in Cyprus for 6 years now, and over the years I helped thousands of individuals and businesses relocate to Cyprus. At the same time, I saw the development of Cyprus from 2019 when I first stepped foot on the island until today, and I can tell you that the island is not the same anymore, and within the next few years, Cyprus is gonna change even more. As you see here on my private channel, I uploaded my first video about living in Cyprus as a digital entrepreneur in 2020, about a year after first coming to Cyprus and incorporating my Cyprus Limited company here. And a lot of people ask me, okay, why did I choose Cyprus? And the simple answer is because there are not many options when it comes to low tax jurisdictions in the European Union. I was living in Bali with my business partners in 2018, and we realized, okay, if we make money online, we actually need to pay taxes. And so we were looking into countries that offer a nice lifestyle, sun, and a good tax scheme. And Cyprus was among the top choices. So we came here, we rented an Airbnb for 1 or 2 weeks back then, and we made the decision, okay, this is going to be our new home. So as simple as that, basically. And when we look at the Millionaire Migration in 2025, we will see that Cyprus is actually up here, right next to the big players like the UAE, the US, Italy, Switzerland, which are top choices for wealthy individuals to relocate to this year and in the upcoming years. So for me, this makes me happy to see Cyprus here, even above Monaco, attracting more millionaires than other places that are also quite popular. On the other hand, we see places like the UK, China, Russia, France, Spain, Germany, all those countries where there is a lot of political instability, rising taxes, and rising crime rates. I mean, I'm from Germany myself. I was born and raised there, and it is crazy to see what this country has become, especially when it comes to building a business there, having a startup there, or just the overall entrepreneurial economy there. When I was in Germany, I had the GmbH, and I felt like I was pressured from all the rules, from all the policies and the taxes that I have to pay every week. I was receiving letters from the tax authorities, and I didn't even know what am I paying here, but I was kinda forced to just pay my share. And in Germany, we even have something called the solidary surplus, which is just an additional fee that you pay for solidary purposes. And don't get me wrong, I'm fine with paying taxes. If I would want to pay 0% tax, I wouldn't even live in Cyprus, because Cyprus is not a tax haven. It is a low tax jurisdiction. But the main difference in my eyes is that I actually see what is happening on the island here in Cyprus with the money that I pay to the government. In Germany, what do we see? We see rising irregular immigration, sponsoring foreign affairs. I mean, not even the pension fund is fully covered, which means if I would go into retirement at some age, I wouldn't get any support from the government whatsoever. But back to the topic, Cyprus. We see here more people become aware of Cyprus, and I do have a few examples for that. We have John Olsen, a huge YouTuber that relocated to Cyprus. He left Cyprus a while ago, again, because of private reasons. I think there was a divorce or something, but in the first place, he came here, made marketing about Cyprus. At the same time, we have celebrities like Leonardo DiCaprio, Michael Douglas, Elton John visiting Cyprus for vacation reasons. Yes, this is an older article, but still, Cyprus has a lot of A-celebrities that come here for a short trip. When A-celebrities, football players and people of that sort visit some of the Greek islands, I mean, it's just a little jump to come to Cyprus as well and take a look at it. We have Phidias, the biggest YouTuber from Cyprus, who is now in the European Parliament. He has a few million followers. followers that lives here in Cyprus. We collaborated on one video together in 24 where we gave away a car for free here in Cyprus. That was quite funny. We have the biggest streamer in the world, iShowSpeed, who's planning to come to Cyprus during his Europe tour. Maybe by the time this video is live, he was already here. Then we have Luciano, the biggest German rapper that recently visited Paphos, Cyprus, which was crazy. I actually met him. He's interested in a few business topics here on the island. He's not relocating here, but he's definitely doing some sort of business, let's say it like that. We have Flair, again, one of the biggest German rappers, actually relocated to Limassol a few weeks ago. We have Yanimais, one of the biggest automotive YouTubers from the UK, originally Cypriot, coming back to Cyprus now. He was considering Cyprus and Dubai. He made a big YouTube video and he actually, I think, decided to come to Cyprus, at least for some months during the year. Then again, another German rapper, Samra, 1.5 million followers, actually relocating to Cyprus, to Paphos, my city, which is crazy because a few years ago I was listening to his music and now we are in contact with his team for some corporate matters. We have Melstroy, a huge Russian-speaking streamer, or I don't even know what he is, but he's definitely famous, relocated to Limassol, Cyprus, and he has a nice fleet of cars in the back. We have ESN, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, German supplement brand that also relocated to Cyprus, or let's say their founders, their CEOs. I don't really know the exact corporate structure of them, but what I know is that they actually just purchased the majority shares of the gym that I'm going to here in Paphos, and they just rebranded it to the ESN gym. And you can see the old name here, Tower Fitness. And this was definitely surprising. I'm going to the gym on a daily basis and I just see famous German influencers, fitness influencers around there. Alberto, Smart Gains, Christian Wolf, Paul Unterleitner, one of the biggest German YouTubers when it comes to fitness and health. And I was just on a boat a few weeks ago with him. And if you're German, you definitely know those names. If you're not, then just trust me, they are big. And Germany is like kinda invading Cyprus right now, becomes the next Mallorca almost, but not really, it's just a joke. Anyway, some more international names, D Squared, and I think that's enough. I don't want to drag it too long, but what I wanted to show you with that is that more and more people are choosing Cyprus instead of all the other options that these big names have. They could go to Dubai, they could go to South France, they could go to Monaco or whatever there is where the elite, so to say, goes to, but no, these people choose Cyprus more and more. And what I always say, a few years ago, if you were to ask people on the street in Germany, what is Cyprus, as simple as that, I would argue that maybe 7 people actually just know what Cyprus is. Nowadays, if you go on the streets in Germany, I would argue 8 or 9 people know what Cyprus is. My mother didn't know what Cyprus is when I decided to relocate to Cyprus 6 years ago. She first had to Google it. So yeah, this all is because Cyprus is very welcoming. I mean, when I came to Cyprus in 2019 for the first time, I just felt so good. The energy was good, the spirit was good. And this is due to the fact that Cyprus is multicultural. Everyone is welcome here in Cyprus. And if we take a look now at the actual lifestyle that Cyprus offers, I think it becomes pretty clear why this is the case. So first of all, Cyprus has a Mediterranean and relaxed lifestyle. Again, just for your info, this is a beginner's guide, so I'm literally trying to cover every single thing so that when you finish this video, you know everything about Cyprus that you need to know. And one of the most important things is when it comes to lifestyle, Cyprus definitely has a slow pace of life. And there is a saying here in Cyprus that goes siga siga. It's Greek and basically means, literally translated, slowly, slowly. And this is something that you will definitely experience once you are here. Everybody just take everything very slowly. No one has to rush to work like in Germany. In Germany, everyone is like, I have to go to work. Oh my God, I come too late, 1 minute. In Cyprus, if you're 20 minutes late, you're early. And one of the pros is definitely the freedom that you have here. I mean, no one really cares if you're late or early or not. If you just get things done here in Cyprus, you're a hero. And I personally love that because I was never the person that followed the rules. In Germany, I was the Klassenclown, we say it, where I just did whatever I wanted. If the teacher told me to be quiet, I was loud. If the teacher told me to not do A, I did A. So this is why I love Cyprus. Sometimes I want to ride the bicycle without a helmet. In Germany, every passenger will point the fingers at you. You're not allowed to do that. Are you crazy? Ich glaube, ich spinne. That's what the Germans would say. And yeah, I get it. Rules are important, but somehow life works here in Cyprus, doesn't it? I would argue that life is definitely safer here in Cyprus. It feels better. And if we're being honest, in Germany, all those policies and rules and laws just make things more complicated than necessary. But anyway, it's not all rosy and flowers. Obviously, this also comes with its cons, and that is you need patience. If you actually need to get something done, like me, for example, a few weeks ago, my AC stopped working and then I needed a new AC, or I needed to fix this AC. And it took about 2 weeks until I talked to the landlord and we talked to the company, and some people came and they checked the problem and all of that. And within those 15 days, I think I was sweating so crazy. It was literally a sauna here in my home because we have peak summer right now, mid-July, which means it is super hot. And so obviously I would prefer to get it done as soon as possible, but no, it took a while. But I think you will get the whole picture once you are here on the island and you actually make your own experiences. Other than that, we are a very family-oriented country. I mean, there are a lot of family-run businesses. Family is very important here in Cyprus, and families are big. Everyone knows each other. It just takes 2 phone calls and you can literally talk to the president, so to say. If you go to a restaurant, all the Cypriots will say, he is my cousin, he is my uncle, and you can literally get things done if you know the locals here. Which is actually also connecting to the point earlier. If you know people here in Cyprus and if you have a network, things can get done faster. Other than that, Cyprus is definitely an evening culture, so people start to go out after sunset, which is about 8 p.m. at the moment here during summer. And then the restaurants are open until midnight. You definitely see people around the streets at 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock, whether it is tourists or even locals. You see kids playing around at 10 p.m., 11 p.m., which is something you don't really see in Germany because bedtime is 8 p.m. Other than that, Cyprus has a lot of sunny days. The internet says 320 or more, and I can definitely confirm that. I mean, look at me, I'm brown as a German, so I definitely get a lot of color here without even actually sunbathing in the sun. I just have to go to the shop or go for a run and I become tanned within just like 1 or 2 years. Actually, I would argue my skin changed. When I moved to Cyprus in the first place, it was very hard for me to get a nice color. But then it took about 1, 2, 3 years and my skin is now much more comfortable with the sun. I don't get red or sunburned so easily. I actually get brown, which makes me very happy. And I know that this is actually very healthy as well because I can get the benefits of the sun. I feel more happy. I have a higher testosterone level. And there are so many other health benefits when it comes to sun exposure that you can Google yourself, and you definitely get this here in Cyprus. I mean, when we compare it to the UK, for example, where it's mostly cloudy or even rainy, you have to stay indoors most of the time. You don't really get the sun exposure, and this is why people are pretty pale in those countries in the West. And even Dubai, I would argue, yes, it is super hot there. I mean, it's the desert and it's the Middle East, but can you really go out for multiple hours per day in Dubai, for example? Not really. You have to stay indoors and take advantage of the AC because it is up to 45 degrees Celsius in the UAE. Here in Cyprus, we have 30 to 40 degrees Celsius. Yes, it is obviously super hot, and you don't want to go out when the sun is in the zenith or its peak at midday, but after 3, 4 p.m. you can definitely go out and the UV is not that strong anymore. Then we have the winters, 10 to 18 degrees Celsius. It feels a bit colder though than here, 18 degrees in Germany. I remember 18 degrees, I could go out without a jacket. You definitely need a winter jacket here in Cyprus, especially during January and February. But other than that, it is a pretty calm and short winter. Fun fact, during winter, like January, February, sometimes even March, you can even go skiing in the mountains of Cyprus. There is a little ski resort in the Troodos Mountains at Mount Olympus. It's definitely beautiful there. I visited it about 3 years ago, I think. After that, this winter, for example, wasn't really that snowy. I think we had snow for like a week or so, but some colder winters definitely have a lot of snow. We are talking about meters of snow. All right, other than that, Cyprus is a very, very religious country. It is very spiritual. I feel very good here. We have a very big culture. We have the Christian Orthodox religion as the majority here in Cyprus. We have a lot of monasteries. This right here is a beautiful monastery in the mountains of Cyprus. It is the Kikos Monastery, I think the oldest in Cyprus, and it just looks beautiful. Unfortunately, I haven't visited yet, but I will definitely do so and document it on my personal channel, Rico Go, where I talk about the lifestyle point of view about Cyprus. Then also, Zeno of Citium, so the philosopher Zeno, was born in Cyprus. Citium is the older term for Larnaca, the today's city in the east of Cyprus. Then also Aphrodite was here in Cyprus, and we even have the Aphrodite bath, where Aphrodite kissed the Greek god Adonis. So we definitely have a lot of Greek mythology here in Cyprus, and even me, I'm personally very interested in that, and I think it's beautiful to see all of those big names somehow relate to Cyprus. And in general, when it comes to Cyprus, we see there is a mix of mountains, beaches, indoor activities. Here I visited the Blue Lagoon a few weeks ago in Polis area. Absolutely beautiful. I made a video on my private channel here about why I chose to live in Cyprus and not Dubai, even though I actually visited the UAE recently, and I even incorporated a free zone company in the UAE, and I'm actually using it for other reasons, but I have a separate video talking about that. Cyprus has the cleanest waters in the European Union. You can see here above Bulgaria, above Greece, above Austria. Absolutely stunning waters. When I stand in front of the beach, sometimes I just feel like I want to be a fish and just swim inside. I think you know what I mean when you just see the beautiful waters and it's just like Then we have the Akamas National Park. Absolutely beautiful. It is a protected area in Cyprus. It's not allowed to build there, and it is quite big. It is here when you go even more west after Pea. Absolutely stunning, where you can do mountain tours with the buggy, the bike, bicycle, even supercars. There are some amazing roads where I drive with my McLaren, with my bike, or even bicycling in the Troodos Mountains, not specifically Akamas. Akamas is more like just flat, but the Troodos Mountains are absolutely amazing with curvy roads. Driving a Porsche there, amazing. Here, clean seawaters in the EU, already talked about that. We also have waterfalls. We have blue lagoons also in the Ayia Napa area, Protaras, absolutely beautiful beaches. We even have lakes. We have the Salt Lake in Larnaca. We have actual big lakes somewhere in the mountains, hidden. There are so many hidden gems. We have ruins, abandoned cities, abandoned villages. So I think it never really gets boring here in Cyprus. Even after 6 years of living here, I talked to some people and they tell me about something that I never even heard about. I recently found out that there is an underwater museum in Ayia Napa where you can go diving and see statues and sculptures and even sunken ships. Like, what? This tiny island has so much to offer from a lifestyle point of view. And I didn't even talk about water sports. I tried out all kinds of water sports here in Cyprus. Jet ski, obviously my favorite. I think my second most favorite is flightboarding or e-foiling. This is what it's called as well. Recently I did learn wake surfing. This was amazing. I think like it took me 3 times until I was standing on the board and I was surfing in Limassol with the view of the skyscrapers in Limassol. Absolutely amazing lifestyle. I know many people and friends and business partners with boats and even yachts. where you can just have a few friends there, or maybe even buy a catamaran or a small boat yourself. It's not that expensive. The parking for a small boat is maybe 2,000 euros per year in the Paphos harbor, for example. There are many other smaller harbors, or you can just park a little boat in your driveway. That's also possible. And then you just carry it to the sea and back home. A lot of people do that. A lot of people even have a jet ski standing in their garden, and then they just use it a few times. But then you can also argue, okay, maybe it makes more sense to just rent it a few times, but the decision is up to you. Let's get back to the topic. What I also absolutely love in Cyprus is the fact that you can have a healthy lifestyle here. I remember coming to Cyprus 6 years ago, then this healthy lifestyle and vegan option thing wasn't really that big here, but now because we have so many fitness influencers relocating to Cyprus and so many health conscious people, we have all of those running paths that are getting extended. Here in Cyprus, you can run from Pea all the way to the harbor and even further to Cabana Beach Bar, and you just have an absolute nice way where you can run. I'm running, I think, twice per week, and it's just amazing. Next to the sea with amazing air quality. There are a lot of communities here in Cyprus, running clubs, gym clubs, CrossFit. Hyrox is huge here in Cyprus. The female world champion Megan Jacobi is also living here in Cyprus partially, and she's going to my gym. It's insane. We have so many good other gym options. There is currently a huge new gym that is opening its doors here in Paphos very soon. Limassol has a lot of luxurious options when it comes to gyms, and there is so many food selections that are very, very healthy. We have food delivery services, we have vegan restaurants, we have keto options. Whatever you desire, you can definitely find it here in Cyprus. Let's say it like that. Then, why I added the logo of Cyprus Airways is not because I'm sponsored or anything like that. Just in general, I'm not getting paid by any company, by any service or whatever I'm mentioning here in this video, any platform, nothing whatsoever. I'm 100% independent. The only thing we do is we offer people and businesses a relocation service coming to Cyprus. We do tax advice, we do accounting, we do company formation, immigration, permanent residency, we do auditing, and we also offer real estate services. The actual reason I added this logo is because of this thing right here, which is the logo, the national emblem of Cyprus, so to say, because in Cyprus we have a lot of olive trees, and this is just a cultural information education for you. Olive trees, and especially the branch or the leaves, are definitely one very important thing here in Cyprus. Now, let's get geographical. What are the cities here in Cyprus? So we are currently here in Paphos, where I live on the western end. Then there is Polis, which I mentioned, which I recently visited for the Blue Lagoon, just about here. Let's get a little bit closer. This area right here is like up and coming. I will talk about that in a second. Then if we continue this coastline, let's go this way. We are in Limassol, the big city of Cyprus, so to say, the business hub of Cyprus. Then we continue the coastline, amazing, amazing area and road right here. Then we have Larnaca, where we have the biggest airport of Cyprus. I will get to that in a second as well. If we continue the coastline, we are in Ayia Napa, which is the party area. And then what this is, I will talk about that in a second as well. But yeah, we basically have this tiny little guitar style formed island, or let's rather call it the bouzouki. It's the modern instrument which is used for Greek and Cypriot music with like 3 or 4 strings. It looks quite funny. Anyway, so city number 1 is Paphos. As I said, I'm living in Paphos since 5 years. My first year was in Limassol, but then I decided to relocate to Paphos because I saw a lot of potential there. There is still a video of me online from 2020 where I said that I see a lot of potential in Paphos, and back then no one even wanted to visit the city. I'm also looking for a new property here in Cyprus. I know that down there in Paphos there are awesome houses with nice pools for very little money, so that is very interesting for me at the moment. Anyway, what I saw back then and what is definitely still the case today is the nature is absolutely beautiful here. I love greenery. I love having trees and mountains around me. I love solitude. I love the sea caves and the Coral Bay area here in Cyprus. It is basically the area here between Polis and between Paphos. Just about that. Beautiful, beautiful sunsets here. Then the real estate market is absolutely booming. We are focusing on the real estate market in Paphos, and we even have a small airport, the Paphos airport, which has amazing connections to UK, Israel, Germany and other Central European countries and many others as well, especially for connecting flights. Next is Polis, the small village or upcoming city, I would say. In my eyes, it's an absolute hidden gem. Plots and land is so cheap there, but I think this will change in the upcoming years. There is currently a road under construction which is going to connect Paphos and Polis, because currently there are just two ways. It's either coastal, which is taking a long time, or it is through the mountains, which is very high and then down and not really convenient. So they want to make a tunnel between Paphos and Polis, but I'm not sure when this is going to be finished or if this is going to be finished, because as I said, Akamas is environment protected, so I think there are quite some issues regarding that, but I personally don't have a problem with that. I don't want Akamas to be modernized and being built on. I want it to stay as beautiful and as raw in nature as possible. Same with the Troodos Mountains. There are some amazing wineries in the Troodos Mountains, resorts, absolutely beautiful, restorated hotels and old buildings, not a lot. The building density in those areas is maybe 1, 2, 3% max. So there is never going to be a lot of buildings in the Troodos Mountains. Good, thumbs up from my side. Then we have the ski resort. I already mentioned it. And then we have Limassol. Yeah, Limassol is definitely big city life. We have the marina there. It is a business hub. A lot of big companies are located there. A lot of students are there. It is definitely the most modern city. And then we have Larnaca. Larnaca, in my eyes, I never really understood the hype. I know there are a lot of people there, a lot of friends even of mine, a lot of Germans, a lot of other communities, a lot of tourists are there, but to me it is like a flat city. I don't understand the beaches there. There is the Finikoudes beach, which is like the main beach in Larnaca, but if you go into the Finikoudes beach, you have to walk for like literally 100 meters until you can swim. It is such a flat beach. I don't understand it, but I think the main airport is one of the biggest reasons why people choose Larnaca, especially people that travel frequently. I have one international big DJ, maybe you even know him, which I cannot disclose publicly, but I know that he's living in Larnaca because he's flying on a weekly basis. They also have a pretty good infrastructure for private jets. There are a lot of private jets in Larnaca. I think the reason is not because we have so many individuals in Cyprus that actually park their jet there. It's more for like layover reasons. Cyprus geolocation is amazing for a private jet that is coming from Dubai to London to just have a quick stop and get some fuel, especially smaller jets, something like that. Anyway, the Larnaca airport is the biggest one in Cyprus, and it is in Larnaca. Then we have Ayia Napa, as I said earlier. Ayia Napa is known as the party place. A lot of British people come here, a lot of Scandinavian people come here to party. But if we are being honest, when it comes to actually living there or having an Airbnb business there, it is very isolated and very, very seasonal. I wouldn't want to go into real estate in Ayia Napa just yet. I would rather focus on Paphos, which has an amazing improved infrastructure and it is evolving so much. But for a few people, it is an option that like to go out in the evenings and have a lot of tourists around. There is definitely a Daseinsberechtigung, as we Germans would say. So a reason to exist for Ayia Napa. Same goes for Nicosia. Never really a thing for me. It's the capital city of Cyprus, yes, but it doesn't have a direct beach access. It is more governmental. It is a student city. A lot of prestigious schools and universities are in Nicosia. Our chief legal officer of Tax.One is in Nicosia, sacrificing his lifestyle for our clients, because you can just go to the immigration headquarters, you can just go to the registrar of companies, to all the governmental and semi-governmental headquarters and offices. So this is why Paris is there. And now I think it's time to have some general info before we get to the juicy part. I'm telling you, it's getting even more interesting, but I think you have quite a good understanding yet. Let me know in the comments how you like these longer videos. All right, so Cyprus used to be a British colony until the 60s, 70s, something like that, until Cyprus became independent. And this is why Cyprus still has a lot of British laws, a lot of British flavors, so to say, just as the right-hand drive. So Cyprus is driving on the right side of the road, as the king would say and prefer. We have the euro as the national currency because Cyprus entered the Eurozone. Cyprus is a full member of the European Union, and we are also enjoying the NHS system, the National Health Service, which is quite similar to the UK system. It is actually the same company. And the beautiful thing about Cyprus's NHS system is that we have a EU-wide coverage. We recently had a case of a German client of ours who was in Germany, had a little accident, and he was able to use the NHS coverage in Germany. And they fully paid everything. Also, my personal experiences with the NHS and the experiences of my girlfriend, who even had a surgery, are absolutely top notch. I can't say anything bad about the NHS in Cyprus. I literally would if I would have. I'm very transparent, but there's nothing. But still, if you feel uncomfortable, you always have the option for private insurance, and you also need an additional immigration insurance if you want to immigrate to Cyprus. But this is very, very affordable. I think it's as little as 200 euros for the immigration. Private insurance is a little bit more expensive, but you can get your quotes from some insurance brokers. Or you reach out to us and we are happy to give you some recommendations for everything, by the way. Cyprus has great hospitals with a lot of capacity. As you maybe know, Greek people are very good when it comes to medicine. They love medicine, they are very passionate about it, and there are even stories where British individuals take a flight to Cyprus to get treated here because it is faster than being treated in the UK, where you sometimes have to wait weeks, if not months, to get just an appointment. And if you have an urgent matter, you know it yourself, the only thing that matters once you are sick is to gain your health back. And this is why a lot of people come to Cyprus to get treated and get high quality services. Health-related services. The doctors are amazing here in Cyprus. And the same goes for schools, by the way. We have many schools and universities in all cities, public and private. Here in Paphos, I know all of them. We have, for example, the Lumio private school, the Aspire private school. When it comes to universities, we have prestigious universities like the American University of Beirut. Just opened its doors here in Paphos with their main campus. We have a technical university. We have the Neapolis University and many other options. Same goes for Limassol, many Slavic-speaking options, private schools, universities. Nicosia is the main city when it comes to education. They have absolutely amazing universities. Very nice to do a semester here. Very nice to just get your education here. And I know for a fact that we have world-leading teachers, educators, and professors here in Cyprus, such as Andreas Antonopoulos, one of the world-leading blockchain and Bitcoin experts. He talked about Bitcoin in front of an empty room back in 2009 or 10, something like that. Then we also even have Jordan Peterson recently visited Nicosia. I think he's doing it on a yearly basis. And so we definitely have a lot of smart people here on the island. Next point, Cyprus is obviously also bilingual because of the fact that it used to be British. However, the locals obviously appreciate if you know a little bit of Greek. And here are my 5 most important words that I wrote down, such as Kalimera, good morning, Kalispera, good evening, Kalinichta, good night, Efkaristo, thank you, and Paragalo, you're welcome. Or please sometimes as well. Cyprus absolutely loves food. Their food culture is big, and what I'm going to tell you now is super interesting. So we have this Greek coffee thing which is called Freddo Espresso, and prior to living in Cyprus I didn't even know what it is. If you haven't been in a Greek country yet, or you don't have Greek friends, then you probably also don't know Freddo Espresso, but I'm telling you, if you're a coffee person and you will try your first Freddo Espresso, this will be your new favorite coffee. Same with halloumi. Maybe you've heard about halloumi. However, Cyprus is actually trademarking halloumi, meaning wherever you are in the world, if you're eating or seeing halloumi, you know that it has its origin from Cyprus. Only when it was made in Cyprus, it can be called halloumi. Everything else is like feta cheese, goat cheese, and many other names. Meze is like a buffet, I would call it, but not really. It's like a lot of smaller plates and dishes being delivered to your table directly. Consists of a lot of meat and vegetables and potatoes and moussaka and whatever there is. And then we also have Commandaria. This is a wine. It is the oldest wine still in production today, and it is called Commandaria. And Zivania is like a I would call it, or Cypriots would punch me now, but in my eyes, it is like the Cypriot vodka. Okay, I said it. I have to run now. Great. So this leads us to the living costs in Cyprus. And then we are talking about tax benefits, business benefits, and real estate, which is super interesting for anyone relocating to Cyprus or investing into Cyprus. So if you're asking me about rent, I would say that in any city, you have to pay at least 1,000 euros up to 2,000 euros to get a modern, clean, nice apartment. When it comes to utility bills, electricity is about 50 to 100 euros a month if you're using AC, lights, MacBook, fridge, all of that on a daily basis. However, electricity is quite expensive. I would say much more expensive than many other countries. It is about 36 cents per kilowatt hours. Water, you pay it every 3 months, but broken down on a monthly basis, I pay 10 euros, actually a little bit less, but this is what you can expect. Those are just rough numbers. It obviously depends on your consumption and your lifestyle, but I just want to give you a brief overview of what you can expect. Internet, SIM, Wi-Fi, all of that is 10 to 30 euros each. Groceries, I pay 120 euros per week for 2 people per week at the little grocery supermarket. Yes, I feel very German here going to little. Fuel is, last time I checked, 1.37 euros per liter for 95 benzene, which is cheap. I think in Germany it used to cross 2 euros. I don't really know what it is right now. I'm sure it is more expensive there. Then we have MOT. For the Germans, it's like the TÜV. For any other individual, it is the annual or every 2 years check that you do for your car to check if it is still drivable and safe on the streets. And here in Cyprus, it is ridiculously cheap. 35 euros for 2 years. And if we are being completely transparent, even if your right indicator doesn't work, you will still get the MOT. But don't tell anyone. This is what I mean with freedom. Then we have the road tax. Every car also needs to pay road tax. It is 250 euros for an average car. I have a Mercedes SLK 200, very small engine, 1.8 liters. And the car insurance on that on an annual basis, not monthly, is 270 euros. Really, really cheap. I know in Germany you pay that quarterly. Then for my bike, or let's rather say motorbike, not bicycle, it's 143 euros on an annual basis. And my supercar, my baby McLaren, is 600 euros. It is a McLaren 570S with 570 horsepower. And even that is super cheap. When I got the car, I was expecting 2,000–3,000 euros. No, it's 600 euros per year, not month, year. Anyway, then now it's getting interesting because we also have a lot of free goodies. And I would say there are so many benefits that you don't really see, such as you can park for free at the harbor in Paphos. You can shower for free by the beach, which is 2–3 euros in some other countries. And you can get so many perks here in Cyprus, which actually makes it kind of irrelevant what you pay for the living costs. I understand it's obviously not irrelevant, but because we have the tax benefits, I would argue that entrepreneurs and wealthy individuals and families and all that don't really care about what they pay on a monthly basis here, because it is definitely cheaper than the UAE. It is definitely cheaper than many other countries. And on top of that, we have the tax benefits. And now it's getting interesting. We have the 183 days tax residency as well as the 60 days tax residency, meaning individuals that relocate to Cyprus either spend 6 months or just 2 months in the country per tax calendar year, which is January until the end of December, just as the normal calendar, and you can become a legal tax resident, pay your personal taxes here in Cyprus, and you're covered. You get audited, and then depending on your home country, they can say nothing. If we have a double tax treaty with your home country, you're paying the taxes here in Cyprus, which are obviously quite favorable because we do have the non-dom status, which exempts you fully from dividend taxes. Worldwide dividend income is not taxed here in Cyprus if you're a non-domiciled individual for the next 17 years. You are literally getting a physical certificate stamped by the tax authorities here in Cyprus that you do not pay any dividend tax for the next 17 years, which, yes, is applied to your personal companies where you pay dividends yourself, but also to publicly listed shares that pay out dividends, like the Starbucks stock, for example. Apple stocks, I think, also pay out dividends. 0% tax on that. Same with joint ventures that you have in other jurisdictions. As long as there is no tax at source or withholding tax, like in the US probably, there is 0% tax on that. But there is a 2.65% healthcare contribution, which actually makes it 2.65% for the dividend tax, but literally is not the dividend tax, it is the healthcare contribution, which you will receive services, as discussed earlier, from the NHS. And the beautiful thing is that this NHS contribution is actually capped at 180,000 euros in dividend income, and anything that you receive more than 180k per year is not taxed anymore, which then actually means the maximum you will pay in total numbers, in a total amount, is 4,770 euros per tax calendar year, and that's it. No matter if you receive 180k euros in dividend income or 10 million in dividend income, which is actually quite interesting for high net worth individuals and ultra high net worth individuals, because then for them, the actual NHS contribution or dividend tax, whatever you want to call it, is close to zero. So as you see, it is quite individual and very specific, and this is why we always recommend to book an individual consultation call so that we can look at your specific case. Next benefit is also interesting for employed people, not just for entrepreneurs that receive dividends, but also for individuals that receive income, and that is the 50% income tax deduction. The actual personal income tax in Cyprus could be quite high. The highest tax bracket is 35%, but with the 50% income tax deduction, it is lowered down to 17.5%, which is actually quite interesting if we compare it with our Central European countries, the UK, or other countries as well. Then on top of that, or rather next to it, there is also a way to pay absolutely no income tax with the special 90 days rule, but this is very complicated. So when it comes to that, we recommend to just book a call, and we are happy to advise on that. Next, again, corporate matter. We have a 12.5% corporate tax here in Cyprus, even though it will most likely be increased to 15% because of the OECD, the global minimum corporate tax coming from the US, but this is just a 2.5% difference, and this will most likely affect all other jurisdictions as well. I wouldn't be surprised if even the UAE will also increase their corporate tax from 9% to 15%. But what the UAE and many other jurisdictions don't have, and what is 100% legal even though there is a global minimum corporate tax, is the IP box regime, which is a tax benefit or a tax incentive for businesses with IP, intellectual property, where you can use notional deduction to lower the corporate tax, the effective corporate tax, down to just 2.5%, or anything in between 2.5% or up to 15% once the new corporate tax is implemented. And for that, there is a formula which uses qualifying income and qualifying expenses that then actually leads to your effective corporate tax. Back to personal matters, we have 0% tax on. Are you ready? Because this is a very big line. We have 0% tax on capital gains in Cyprus, 0% tax on interest income, 0% inheritance tax, no gift tax, no wealth tax, no property tax, no church tax, no solidary surplus, no tax on trading securities, precious metals are excluded, and there is also no exit tax. Then there is 19% VAT. However, there is a reverse charge mechanism, meaning cross-border transactions between two VAT registered businesses within the European Union don't need to issue VAT on the invoice because it is actually reversed to the client. He doesn't need to pay it out of his liquidity to the invoice issuer. He can pay it later on, depending on the VAT system in the jurisdiction of the customer. He will pay it to their fiscus, tax authorities, government, whatever. Then invoices outside of the European Union are also exempt from the VAT. And also interesting enough, Norway, Liechtenstein, and Switzerland are not part of the EU, meaning invoices to these countries also don't need to issue VAT. Then there are also a lot of reduced VAT rates, such as 5% for hospitality and restaurant invoices, such as 3% for ebook sales and 9% for other various goods, and you can definitely research that yourself, or we're also talking about that on other videos. And then also Cyprus has double tax treaties with over 65 countries, which is very good when it comes to being fearful of citizenship-based taxation and back taxes, which is actually the case in the UAE, for example. So as of 2021, Germany and the UAE don't have an active double tax treaty anymore. That means that actually if Germany would implement a worldwide income tax based on the citizenship, then individuals that relocated to the UAE don't have a legal protection from double taxation, which is not the case here in Cyprus. Individuals that relocated from Germany to Cyprus are legally protected from double taxation. In the UAE, it is not the case. Actually, when we talk about that, this is a topic for another video. I will definitely make a video about this specifically because it is affecting quite some individuals. Next, very interesting topic is the business benefits. Let me just zoom in a bit. And the first thing that I always say when it comes to Cyprus and why I came here is the easy bureaucracy. And the number one point is the easy company formation. We can literally incorporate a Cyprus limited company in less than a month with a bank account, with a local bank account, either Bank of Cyprus, Hellenic, Alpha Bank. We have many options here and good connections to them as well. Or you can just go to a neobank if you like that as well. We have a Revolut that operates in Cyprus. We have Wise that operates in Cyprus, and many other banks actually accept Cyprus limited companies because Cyprus is whitelisted. The reputation of Cyprus improved so much. We are not a tax haven anymore. It's nothing shady here in Cyprus, and that is why we have the possibility and options to operate under a Cyprus limited company completely clean, which you don't have with tax havens like Seychelles, Bahamas, BVIs and Cayman Islands, whatever there is. These countries, these jurisdictions are blacklisted, meaning you will encounter so many problems with such jurisdictions, and it starts with the KYC and bank account opening, which doesn't work in most of these jurisdictions in the first place. Other than that, once you are set up here in Cyprus with your Cyprus limited company, you received all of the company certificates, shareholder certificate, your memorandum, articles of association, all of this, then it comes to maintaining the company. And here I always say that we definitely have simple accounting and auditing processes and systems here in Cyprus where you just have to collect your bills and invoices and send them to our accountants at the end of the month, and they will do all the work for you. Even better if we use automations or softwares such as Xero, for example. They offer cash coding, which is basically just putting all of the transactions from your company, bank accounts and payment providers, Stripe, etc., together in one big list that we then export in a grid style, and our accountants can then easily do the bookkeeping, profit and loss calculations, which then helps us later on for the auditing, which we are legally required by law to do it via an independent auditor. But when it comes to prices, all of that is actually quite affordable if we compare it to other countries such as the UAE, for example. Let's just give you some rough numbers. Obviously, it always depends on the individual case, meaning how many shareholders will there be, how many people will relocate and also need immigration services, how many people will actually receive salary, etc. But to give you a general overview, a company formation costs just about 2,000 euros in Cyprus. Accounting costs just about the same on an annual basis, 150, maybe 200 euros per month, depending on how many transactions you have. Obviously, an e-commerce store with thousands of transactions is more work for our accountants than having a sole contractor that just works with one company and issues one invoice per month. Then the auditing, let it be 1,500 euros for an average company, and there you go. Those are the rough numbers when it comes to costs to set up a company in Cyprus and also maintain it. And this is definitely one of the reasons why we have so many entrepreneurs here in Cyprus, because it is easy for a startup to build a company here in Cyprus, for solopreneurs, for digital nomads, for freelancers, for contractors to just enjoy this easy environment of running an actual business without the complicated bureaucracy that you see in so many other countries. And this also obviously leads to many communities here in Cyprus, entrepreneurs, events, and we have many co-working spaces where you can meet other entrepreneurs, digital nomads. We have so many meetups, such as the Reflect Festival, for example, which is the biggest entrepreneurs and tech event in Cyprus that took place just a few weeks or months ago by now as well, where we had our booth here. The Tax.One core team, Andonis and Paris, which you will definitely also meet as well if you decide to work with Tax.One. And there are many other big companies and talent located and situated and headquartered here in Cyprus. The key industries are definitely Forex. Most of the big brokers are headquartered in Cyprus when it comes to their European arm. A lot of tech companies are here as well. Marketing companies like SEMrush, adult companies from adult industries, if you know what I mean. And also obviously services is a big sector in Cyprus. Then another benefit is definitely the EU access, and you can talk down on the EU as much as you want. Banking is definitely very convenient in the EU, and especially if you have European clients, there is no way around about having a EU entity. And Cyprus also offers holding structures. We even have trust vehicles, which all come with their very own individual benefits and advantages, especially from a legal, structural, and tax point of view. And in an individual consultation call, we are happy to advise you further on that. Then, when we are talking about banking already, we can also obviously mention the 2013 Cypriot financial crisis, and this is a very hot topic and definitely also misunderstood in my eyes. What is the 2013 Cypriot financial crisis? So in 2013, Cyprus did something which is also called or known as the haircut, where depositors with more than 100,000 euros in a local bank account here in Cyprus, especially from the Laiki Bank, which was the second biggest bank in Cyprus but doesn't exist anymore, they were basically indirectly forced by the European Commission to seize all uninsured deposit in return for a 10 billion euros bailout. One reason for that could be because the European Commission obviously knew that Russian money was definitely also deposited in Cypriot accounts, and that is why the Rosia Bank lost nearly 1 billion US dollars. Depositors with less than 100,000 euros were not affected, but almost all bank deposits with more than 100,000 euros were seized. Now the question is, okay, why did this happen? Number one, this was a delayed side effect or consequence from the 2008 global financial crisis, which affected nearly any country in the world, especially Greece, because it triggered their sovereign debt crisis. And here lies the underlying problem. Because Cyprus is so close to the Greek government, Cyprus actually invested into Greek bonds which lost value overnight. And investing into governmental bonds is one of the safest bets you can do, and this is actually what all central banks and governments do. And so in my eyes, you can't really point the fingers at Cypriot banks and say they failed, because they are literally doing what everyone else is doing as well. And then after this unlucky event happened, the Cyprus banks just did what the EU told them to do, and that is to seize the depositors' money in return for a big paycheck. I actually think Germany was involved with that very much, and it was their idea to do that. But yeah, anyway, this actually leads to the next big topic, and that is politics. Let me just get my iPad straight. And here I have to be very careful. This is not a political video. I just want to briefly mention the most important things when it comes to politics in Cyprus. And that is obviously Cyprus is politically divided since 1974. There is a physical, geographical green line in the capital of Cyprus. Nicosia is the last split capital city in the world, which has basically two parts and a buffer zone, which is protected by UN peacekeeping soldiers. They are standing there and protecting the buffer zone, because in the past there was a war between Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots, and today only The Republic of Cyprus is internationally recognized. Geographically, we are talking about the part that I'm living in, and here we have a multi-party democracy as well as a presidential republic. Currently, the president of Cyprus is Nikos Christodoulos, but very important, because I'm not Cypriot, I don't want to talk about this topic too much. I refer to the Wikipedia article and the term Cyprus problem. This is the actual term for this political topic, and I definitely recommend you to inform yourself and educate yourself about this topic, because it is a very sensitive topic here on this island, and I want to treat it with absolute utter respect. And even though we are close to the Middle East, we are not a target. I always say that Cyprus is actually the opposite. There is a lot of misinformation out there, especially online, that say that Cyprus will be a target of the Middle East conflict, but no. What is actually happening? What are the facts? We see countries like Australia evacuating their citizens from Lebanon via Cyprus. We have Cyprus on standby to assist evacuations from the Middle East. We even have here the Lebanon conflict from a few years ago, where they get also evacuated in Cyprus. And we even have here another Wikipedia article about the aid during the 2006 Lebanon war, where we also have Cyprus mentioned. Most countries evacuated their nationals by sea and air via Republic of Cyprus and Turkey, or by bus through Syria. So we see Cyprus plays a big role in evacuations and help, and no one really wants Cyprus to be a target, because this is like the last safe haven in this region here, where there is no recent wars and or conflicts. And I said this multiple times in other videos as well, and I hope people understand that we don't really have to live in fear here in Cyprus. Actually, the raw reality is that no one even talks about the potential of Cyprus getting attacked. Cyprus is a member of the European Union, and if someone were to attack Cyprus, it is almost the same as attacking any other EU member country. In relation to that, we also have NATO ties. There are two UK-British air forces here in Cyprus. If you look at the map of Cyprus, we literally have two big areas that says United Kingdom, and in addition to that, we even have US air forces on the ground here in Cyprus. So I think this answers quite a few questions about that topic, and this actually leads to the next topic, which is the illegal or the irregular immigration, which is especially important for Central Europeans and British individuals, I think. And here I have to say that Cyprus is definitely on the forefront when it comes to sending back irregular immigrants. I think in total numbers we are sending back, or Cyprus is sending back, as many irregular immigrants as France and Germany. And you have to consider that Germany has 80 times more the population than Cyprus. There are quite some good sources out there that state actual facts and the right numbers by the European Council of Refugees and Exiles. And here we see returns in 2024. Cyprus has recorded the highest ratio of departures to arrivals among EU member states, with a rate of 179%. So Cyprus is number one in relative terms when it comes to irregular immigrants coming into the country and leaving again. 179, don't really know what that means. That means more are leaving than coming. I think this is even the case. Yes, definitely. And yeah. Next topic, safety. Cyprus is one of the safest countries in the European Union. I tried to find some statistics. However, there is not really much out there just because Cyprus is so small. We have a population of less than 1 million in the Republic of Cyprus. So you can't really compare it to countries like Germany, France, UK, etc. because it is so much bigger. But from my own experience and the experience of many other individuals, families that relocated to Cyprus, I can tell you that within 6 years of living here, I have never witnessed any serious crime. Of course, there are some smaller incidents, this and that, but no murder or knife crime whatsoever. And also, fun fact, according to Wikipedia, there are about 8 or 9 billionaires that live in Cyprus, but I can tell you right now here, I have more than that in my phone contacts on my phone, because Cyprus is so safe. These individuals that have a lot of wealth to their name or their family's name, these individuals feel very safe here in Cyprus. And this then leads to the next point, and that is residency and company. If you want to relocate to Cyprus as a natural person, with your business, without your business, there are quite some options, routes and paths that I will cover now. So first of all, EU citizens, it's beautifully easy for you. You can just relocate here to Cyprus, apply for the yellow slip, which is the temporary residency on paper, but actually the permanent residency in real life, because you can renew the temporary residency, or it renews itself on an annual basis. You don't have to do it manually. You just stay in Cyprus forever, so to say. For non-EU citizens, it is a bit more complicated, but obviously still possible. You can obtain the permanent residency, the yellow slip, but it is called pink slip for you, through PR. You need to go through a few permanent residency routes, such as investment into various different investment opportunities, or maybe you are even married to a EU national. Then we can also go through the MEU2 route, which basically means you have a European spouse. And in any case, we will find a solution for you so that you can stay longer than 90 days in the country, because this is where the permanent residency comes into play. If you come to Cyprus, even as a European national, by the way, legally you can just stay up to 90 days and you're not allowed to work here. However, if you get the yellow slip or pink slip, then you can stay however long you want in Cyprus and also work here in most cases. And once you have the permanent residency, meaning you are in Cyprus and you can stay here and live here and everything else, then the next step is the tax residency, which means the 6 months or 2 months tax residency that I mentioned earlier. You just have to stay here, but if you want to stay here in Cyprus for only 2 months and travel for the remaining 10 months, there are 2 things that you need to consider. And that is, 1, you're legally not allowed to stay in any other jurisdiction for more than 6 months, because then logically and legally you become the tax resident of that country. And then you have some double tax issues and you just don't want it. So stay in any other jurisdiction for less than 6 months, or maybe even less. Countries like the UK have a very hard residency test where you are seen as a tax resident with just 90 days in that country. So there you have a conflict of interest then between the UK and Cyprus. And the non-dom status under the 60 days rule comes with some more requirements than just the 2 months that you spend in the country, such as you need to have a permanent home in Cyprus, either rented, so a rental contract for 12 months, or you bought a property. 2, you need to conduct business here in Cyprus. 3, the 6 months in no other country thing. And this leads to number 4, you shall not be a tax resident of any other country, which is tied to the 6 months thing. But again, some other jurisdictions see you as a tax resident under certain criteria that we have to double check with your current advisor in your current country. And then obviously stay at least 60 days in the country, Cyprus, per tax calendar year. And then you have the permanent residency here in Cyprus. You are a tax resident in Cyprus. And then we can do it simultaneously, by the way. We can even start the company prior to those 2 things. We can start the company formation when you are in your home country already, so that we can start the process and everything, get your company up and running, and you can even start issuing invoices with your Cyprus company with a lower corporate tax compared to wherever you're paying corporate tax right now. Because you have the intention to relocate to Cyprus in the near future, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And we can do all of that within just 3 weeks, plus the bank account. As said, it all depends on the KYC. We have our lawyers in Nicosia that work instantly the same day if they have all the documents that they need, and that we will give to you in a bullet list that you need to provide to us. Next, accounting and auditing. I actually mentioned most of the important things already. You can always book a call with our head accountant. He's happy to answer all your individual and specific questions. Then, when it comes to renting or buying a car, it is very easy when it comes to renting. Short rental, I always recommend Right Now. This is an app that you can use even when you arrive in Cyprus at the airport. You just jump into the car, put your suitcases in the back, and you pay per minute. It is super cheap, the best for such spontaneous rides, like arriving in Cyprus or your car is not working, you need to drive somewhere else. You don't need to call the taxi, you can just use Right Now. Long-term lease and rental, there are many options. Obviously, the most common ones are Sixt, Europe Car and all that, but there is also Flex Car here in Cyprus, which is a pretty cool modern company. I used their leasing cars as well last year. When it comes to buying, I recommend going with dealerships. If you want to buy from a private seller, then definitely go with a mechanic. Always double check the car before you buy it. When it comes to marketplaces, there is Bazaraki, the local eBay, so to say. We have Facebook Marketplace, which is very popular and actively used by people here in Cyprus. And then when it comes to properties, we do have Moving Doors. It is an up and coming new platform that have a little bit more expensive listings, but it is definitely very cool and worth to check out. Again, not sponsored, of course. And then when it comes to buying properties, there are basically two options that I will discuss in a minute. Very important point before we talk about real estate is the fact that Cyprus will soon have a golden visa. So currently it is the permanent residency by investment, 300,000 euros. Buying an off-plan property, new property here in Cyprus, and you can get the permanent residency in Cyprus. But soon this will actually be called the golden visa, and it will be a big competitor to the Greek golden visa, which costs up to 800,000 euros. And they are actually a part of the Schengen area. But also, as we can see here, Cyprus is committed to enter Schengen area by 2026. And even the president officially stated in an announcement that it is as close as never before. And the immediate effects of Cyprus entering Schengen are huge, much bigger than most people would expect. Number one, the demand obviously increases very much for the Cyprus PR, for foreigners from countries that want to travel to the Schengen countries. Cyprus will not just offer staying in Cyprus anymore, but to 30 other countries as well. Two, this logically then increases the real estate prices here in Cyprus, especially for off-plan properties, just because the investment will most likely stay tied to an off-plan property investment. And three, the overall awareness of Cyprus as a country on the international map will just grow significantly as well. Then, when it comes to Cyprus, we also offer a path to citizenship, which means there is an option that you can get the Cypriot citizenship after 3 to 7 years, depending on many factors such as your Greek skills, such as your background. If you are considered a highly talented, skilled person coming with degrees and all that, and many other factors as well, even though there is the so-called passport scandal, which used to be a documentary by Al Jazeera, which leads back to the citizenship by investment times. So prior to the residency by investment, Cyprus actually offered the citizenship by investment. With an investment of 2 million into a Cyprus property, you could get a European Cyprus citizenship, and this was very popular for a lot of foreigners. And there was one specific case where an alleged criminal actually applied for the passport as well, and this kinda went through. However, it was a media company that created this documentary, so we never really will know what actually happened behind the scenes. I don't want to talk too much about this topic because it is such a big topic, and I think it's definitely worth talking about that in another video. But let's continue with real estate. This is definitely something I can talk about a lot. Also, I will talk about that in other videos as well. And let's start very basic and general again. We do have quite a few options of properties here in Cyprus. Very popular is the gated community style, but also standalone villas in the mountains. There are a lot of amazing mansions of people living there. We have apartments, maisonettes, and townhouses as the most popular options, so to say. And we generally have modern style, which you can see in a minute, and traditional style like the Greek, blue balcony style, and also this beige style, which I will also show you in a minute. Cyprus offers, depending on the city, sea view, mountain view, and city view. My apartment is located in the heart of Paphos. I have mountain view there, city view there, and sea view over there. I have 3 balconies in my penthouse. It is an amazing property here. I'm very happy with that. And there are options for every budget. So you don't need to have a penthouse in the middle of the city. You can also go for a more budget option. You can also live together with your business partners, or however you prefer to live in Cyprus. I'm absolutely certain that we will find a property for you, your family, your friends, business partners, whatever there is. If you are seriously interested in Cyprus, we will definitely be able to help you. Now, when it comes to buying, I see it over and over. A lot of individuals first want to rent in Cyprus 1, maybe 2 years, and then they want to buy something. Other people want to buy immediately. Other people just want to invest into Cyprus and not even come here to Cyprus at all, or maybe in the future. And here we have the 2 main options, which is resale and off-plan. Let's start with resale. So resale basically looks like that. Let's talk about apartment complexes. You will understand why in a minute. And the resale market has very limited options, especially now where investments into Cyprus are bigger than ever. It is very hard to find a good deal because agents can get quite greedy and they just increase the prices. Sometimes you see the same property listed 2 times, 3 times with different prices, which leads to the fact that the real estate market in resale is very expensive. Also, we have a lot of outdated styles and designs. I mean, this is literally a random project that I just took when I was on the Bazaraki website. I was just looking for apartment complexes and I was just taking this one. Then the building standards are much lower. Up until a few years ago when Cyprus wasn't really that popular, the developers just used cheap materials, no isolation whatsoever. They just wanted to build a block and that's it, so people can live there as cheap, as quick, as easy as possible. This leads to hidden renovation costs. We recently had a client that purchased a property and just a few weeks later, he saw mold on the walls. And then this mold just increased, got worse and worse, and we found out there was a huge pipe problem in the walls of the property. Costs tens of thousands of euros to fix that because it was a big property. However, on the flip side, those properties are immediately available, meaning you can just get the keys, live inside, rent it out, whatever you want to do, renovate it most likely. And there's also no VAT, which is huge. It is actually just the transfer fees that you need to pay, which is maximum 1% of the purchase price, and the property is yours and the title deeds are hopefully on your name. The next type is the off-plan properties, which is quite a new phenomena. I would argue the term off-plan comes from Dubai actually. Dubai has a huge off-plan market. Most of the transactions and sales made in the UAE are off-plan properties. So basically just what is off-plan? It's just an idea of a property. Depending on the development stage, it can be just a plot with the architectural plan, or maybe there's a property that is already in the construction progress, such as our first project right here, Da Vinci Residences. I just visited it yesterday. We just finished the second slab right here. It's gonna be 5 floors. This is the 3D renders from one of the best architects on the island, and we will have a beautiful pool area right here, a lot of greenery here. There is a lobby going to be here where we will have an exhibition of local artists without hands that can just portray their art there. And then the residents can also collect their art in the lobby there, public access, etc, etc. And this is what off-plan offers you. Basically bespoke properties. You can build your dream house, or you can just invest in such modern, innovative projects and developments. However, it comes with a long waiting time. We are currently 6 months into Da Vinci Residences, and you see just the second floor has been finished. It will be another 10 to 11 months until we will deliver the first keys, the first units. It's 21 units as you can see here. And I have to admit, there is a risk of delays or maybe even a cancellation, especially with new developers such as ourselves. However, the good thing is we have no mortgages, no loans, and we have a lot of liquidity ourselves, meaning if for whatever reason, it doesn't look like it, but if for whatever reason the project wouldn't be sold out, we will pay our own money. However, we are currently 70% sold out already within half a year, and it looks quite good that we will definitely sell out within the next few months. There are about 6 or 7 units left, such as the duplex. As of recording this video, if you're interested, definitely reach out to us on Offplan.One. And once we are sold out, we already have quite a few plot options on our table for 300 more units that we want to build within the next 3 years. So this is definitely going to be an amazing and interesting journey. Back to the topic. For all off-plan properties, there is VAT on top of the purchasing price. It varies from 5 to 19%, depending on a few factors, whether it is your first property that you buy in Cyprus or not, and the size of the property as well. However, you get modern designs. The interior is even more beautiful than the exterior here on this project and many other projects as well. And by the way, I don't want to sound biased and say this is the only option to invest into Cyprus. There are many other developers and amazing projects. Just the timing was perfect. I just visited our construction site and I thought, I'm doing the big Cyprus video soon, so it's perfect to show this as an example for off-plan properties. And why I like off-plan properties so much is that we have an average 20% price appreciation upon completion. Meaning from the time you invest into the off-plan, especially when just the foundation was late. Until the time the property is ready, the price increased just naturally by the fact that it's not an idea anymore, but an actual property by 15 to 20%. And this is also why we are steadily increasing the price list of this project depending on the construction progress. At the beginning, the cheapest unit was 200,000 euros and the latest price is 210, I think at least 10,000 euros more expensive. But we still want to be relatively cheap compared to our competitors just because this is our first project and we don't really have a lot of references and case studies where we can say, hey, this is what we built. This project is going to be our foot into the room, and once this project is complete, you will hear more about real estate from me, and also we are able to say, hey, this is what we built. This is our finishes. This is our quality. This is what we can do. And then the next projects in the pipeline will be much easier to sell as well. Then, depending on the developer, most of them also offer some kind of warranty, whether it is a quality warranty for 10 years or at least 5% in return per year that you will get, or maybe even the money back guarantee. I know this was a thing a few years ago or many years ago actually, where the developer was able to offer to buy back the property for 110% of the purchase price. But this obviously drains a lot of liquidity once the demand stops. And this is why no developer these days is doing that anymore. But there are many kinds of warranties that definitely help you to get rid of the fear that you may have to buy something. And then one of my favorite selling points about off-plan properties is the flexible payment plans. Many people buy off-plan properties without a loan, without mortgage, because they say cash first, and the flexible payment plans is what allows them to make this possible. There is a reservation fee, then a stage 1, 2, 3, 4 fee. Depending on the construction progress, you pay 10, 20, 30% within a time frame of like 18 months, something like that, depending on how long the property needs to be completed. And price factors for Cyprus real estate in general heavily depends on the location, but this would be a super easy and simple answer. That is why I focus a little bit more onto the details, and that is the square meter price definitely depends by city. Limassol is the most expensive city, Paphos, Larnaca much more affordable, Nicosia I would say is the cheapest, Ayia Napa also very affordable. I wouldn't recommend you to buy properties in the occupied side of Cyprus just because you have some legal issues there. We had some cases where investors didn't get a proper title deed that was recognized, and so they were basically losing money there. But the decision is yours. In any case, do a research whether the property is coastal, so by the sea, or inland in the city like I'm currently living in. This definitely also affects the price, obviously. Then whether or not there are views, sea views always super popular. At our project Da Vinci Residences, all the units with sea view are already sold out. The amenities are very important, whether or not some amenities are close by, supermarkets, hospitals, pharmacies, gyms, anything like that. And then obviously also the developer's reputation and the infrastructure this specific developer built is affecting the price. And what do I mean by that? Let's say a new developer like us, for example, we don't really have a reputation. We just try to build our reputation. This is why we can't really charge high prices. But other developers that build 5-star resorts and they build facilities, gyms, spas, restaurant, they can charge higher prices, because once you are in their ecosystem and you purchase a property from them, they claim that you can basically use their facilities for discounted prices or maybe free of charge, which most of the times is not the case, but still you get some benefits. You are some kind of part of a family, and this is the infrastructure that these developers build, as well as the reputation. It's just common sense. Reputative brands and companies can charge more. It is what it is. In any case, something you also need to know is that legal considerations also affect the price of properties. What do I mean by that? For example, there are properties on the market without title deeds, or there are problems with that property because it is owned by a Turkish Cypriot. Those properties, I don't recommend you to touch them, because you will have legal issues. Even though the price is attractive, I would rather opt in for a safer bet, save a little bit more, take a loan, whatever your goal or idea is. Don't go for properties that have legal problems, because we see it on a regular basis. You will regret your decision. And this is exactly what we do here at Tax.One. We help individuals and businesses relocate to low tax jurisdictions and pay as little tax as legally possible. And as we are headquartered here in Cyprus, we offer a one-stop shop for everything: regarding Cyprus. We do the initial setup, we do the ongoing management, and we advise on other legal, tax, and wealth management purposes. We are happy to advise you on real estate investments. We are happy to advise you on corporate structures. And if you appreciate the effort we put into this video, I think this is the longest video I've ever recorded, then you can also subscribe to the channel. And if you do so, I will see you in the next video.